about Spider-Man.
Not everyone has a happy ending.
Every life I've saved, every enemy I've faced, I always knew it was leading to something bigger.
We have plans for you, Peter Parker.
See the new trailer tomorrow on Facebook.
I think you can kind of see some of the many problems with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but we'll get to that in just a second here. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. We are taking a look at the 3 films for May 2nd, 2014. No intro, mostly because this was the big new release, and the other 2 were smaller movies that you probably have never even heard of, and maybe that's for a good reason, but we'll get to those later on. Let's take a look at the biggest new release, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This is the film, of course, that begins the 2014 summer movie season off. Not on the best foot, unfortunately. Let's just say that the first Amazing Spider-Man movie was a big disappointment, but Mark Webb was still a reliable director, and Andrew Garfield wasn't bad as Spider-Man. It was just mostly everything else around the movie that was really kind of falling apart with it. So there was definite hope that you can do a much better sequel, and it started off that way, but it's not long into The Amazing Spider-Man 2 when you realize that this is not a Mark Webb-directed Spider-Man movie. No. This was a Sony Pictures-directed Spider-Man movie. Why do I say that? Well, let's take a look and find out. Let's start with our story. What happens in it? More like what doesn't happen in it. We've always known that the Spider-Man's most important conflicts have been with himself, the struggle between the ordinary obligations of Peter Parker and the extraordinary responsibilities of Spider-Man, but in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Peter Parker, once again played by Andrew Garfield, finds that his greatest battle is about to begin. It's great to be Spider-Man. For Peter Parker, there's no feeling quite like swinging between skyscrapers, embracing being the hero, and spending time with Gwen, played by Emma Stone. But being Spider-Man comes at a price. Only Spider-Man can protect his fellow New Yorkers from the formidable villains that threaten the city. With the emergence of Electro, played by Jamie Foxx, Peter must confront a foe far more powerful than he. And as his old friend Harry Osborn gang to Han returns, Peter comes to realize that all of his enemies have one thing in common: Oscorp. Now, I didn't like the first Spider-Man movie, but after watching that film a couple times before I saw this one, I'll honestly say that it's passable. I mean, it's not a great movie overall, but let me tell you something. I can honestly say that the first Amazing Spider-Man was like watching Citizen Kane than watching this movie, because holy mother of God, this movie fucking sucks. Everything that I knew that was going to be bad about this movie came into play here. They cram in way too much for the audience to be invested in. There's way too many villains being set up. You have Electro, then you also have Harry Osborn, who of course is going to be the Green Goblin, and then they're setting up the Sinister Six. Too many plot points, too many characters being introduced. I mean, nothing redeemable whatsoever. At least with the first one, the story was simple. You gave Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker likability, even if it was ripping off Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, but this one is just a mess. It's a cluttered mess of a movie. I really don't blame anybody who worked on the film that says, I put this blame squarely on one thing only: Sony Pictures. Remember, Tom Rothman had just left Fox to go to Sony. And yeah, you could definitely tell that this was a movie made by the same guy that hates the X-Men but loves Wolverine, and wanted to make a Wolverine trilogy so badly over at Fox, even though the first movie was fucking terrible. But yeah, this movie is so bad. They greenlit this movie without a finished script. They tried to defend the overabundance of story. They forced all these villains down our throat with no purpose whatsoever except for fan service, which was the same problem with Spider-Man 3, except Spider-Man 3 is a much better movie than this. They're trying to start a Spider-Man cinematic universe with some of the dumbest decisions I've ever seen for a cinematic universe. And the worst part of it all is they're trying to copy Marvel Studios' mode of making movies by adding an end credit scene in the international releases that, I shit you not, have nothing to do with Spider-Man or X-Men, because they put a scene from the then upcoming Days of Future Past and slap it onto the end to trick audiences into believing that this movie and the new X-Men movie and the new Spider-Man movie are in the same cinematic universe, when that is not the case at all. Keep in mind, this was before Sony and Disney agreed to let Spider-Man be in the MCU. This was still 2 years away from that. And so, yeah, what they did there was so despicable and so absurd. It's sickening. It's sickening that they did that. But that's mostly on, Tom Rothman at Fox from the former Fox executive, now Sony executive, that did that. I mean, that was pretty much what exactly happened here. I mean, this is nothing but a parody of Marvel movies. They do absolutely nothing here except copy not just how Disney's Marvel movies were being made at the time, but they're cramming in, again, those anime elements of the Batman movies in here, too. This is nothing but a damn joke, and one of the worst Marvel movies ever made. Those people who got pissy at me for saying that is for some of these other sequels that from the MCU that, they add too much stuff in it. You know what? I want you to go back and watch Amazing Spider-Man 2 and see that this movie has much more of a mess than something like Age of Ultron or Civil War or Infinity War or Endgame, all those movies in particular. But yeah, this movie is just a mess. This is just a terrible, terrible Spider-Man movie that just, it fails on so many levels. And at least the good news is that Andrew Garfield and in this storyline in particular would get a rebound in Spider-Man No Way Home. And, it at least gave these characters a good movie to be in. But this is just way too goddamn much for me. So, yeah. Not much more to say about that one. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, they ain't nothing amazing about this piece of shit. So, yeah, that was the big new release everyone was going to see to kick off the summer season. What about the smaller movies that came out? Let's take a look at one of them. We have Belle.
Born to a life of privilege.
What has she been named?
Dido, Belle, Maisie.
She takes your name.
I am not ashamed. Raised in a time of tradition.
Why do you not dine with your family ever?
Because that is not correct.
Based on an extraordinary true story.
I love her!
You would risk your position for a man without name.
He speaks a voice for people who do not have one. If I had your choice, I would choose the man I love.
Belle, rated PG. In select theaters May 2nd.
I can't believe there wasn't a shit show back then when people thought that this was the live-action Beauty and the Beast movie. Maybe it's because they probably didn't, but I know, cheap joke right there. But this is not connected to anything Beauty and the Beast related. This is actually a movie based on a story loosely inspired by the 1779 painting of Dido Elizabeth Belle beside her cousin Lady Elizabeth Murray at Kenwood House, which was commissioned by their great-uncle William Murray, then Lord Chief Justice of England. Very little is known about the life of Dido Belle, who was born in the West Indies and was the illegitimate mixed-race daughter of Mansfield's nephew, Sir John Lindley. She's found living in poverty by her father and entrusted to the care of the Mansfield and his wife. The fictionalized story centers around Dido's relationship with an aspiring lawyer. It's set at a time of legal significance, and a court case is thrown on which becomes known as the Zong Massacre, where slaves were thrown overboard from a slave ship, and the owner filed with his insurance companies for their losses. Lord Mansfield rules out the case in England's Court of King's Bench in 1786, a decision seen to contribute to the Slave Trade Act of 1807. And you have Guma Mbatha Raw, who's, before this, she was in stuff like, most notably, the short-lived NBC series Undercovers, and then later in the year, she was in Beyond the Light. She's a good actress overall, but never really got the chance to really branch out into becoming that next big star that they were really pushing her for. She's surrounded by some veterans, Tom Wilkinson, Miranda Richardson, Penelope Wilton, Sam Reed, Matthew Good, Emily Watson, Sarah Gadon, Tom Felton, James Norton, and this is directed by Ama Asante, who I've never seen any of her other works before, but this one in particular is okay, I guess. I mean, the best thing about it is that it does look nice. It's a nice-looking period piece movie. The film has a good cast overall that really makes it worth. And this is a movie that shows Mbatha Raw had potential to become a really good leading actress in the future, but nobody ever really took her up with it because none of her movies that she did were big successes overall. And other than that, though, the story is kind of bland and mediocre at best. There's nothing really about it that makes it stand out or be anything that amazing overall. It's just kind of like, we've kind of seen this story done before, and there's nothing really significant about it per se. The only thing I can say about the movie that works are the performances and the visual look of the film. I mean, other than that, though, you're never going to want to watch this again after the first time you see it. It's just kind of like, it's fine, but nothing really amazing about it overall, so there you go. That's Belle. So let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here. Elizabeth Banks starring in the comedy Walk of Shame.
Good job. We're taking you out. Or something slutty like Denise.
I don't own anything slutty like Denise.
Where do you live?
Where do you live?
The network needs a new anchor. Tonight, this is the break you've been waiting for.
You ain't even got $1.50.
You can just keep going.
The network is coming to see Megan today. If you were Megan Miles, where would you be?
There's a woman in a yellow dress trying to cross the freeway.
You ever had one of those days? Show me your boobs and I'll let you borrow my bike.
Walk of Shame, rated R.
Man, I didn't think we'd ever find a raunchy comedy that would make The Ugly Truth look better by comparison, but holy shit, man, this one, I can't believe how bad this was. Elizabeth Banks stars as a TV correspondent who works at a local station. She gets the opportunity to work on a network, goes on to celebrate with her boyfriend. Her friend shows up to celebrate with her, but they find her despondent. It seems like her boyfriend left without saying goodbye, and the network is leaning towards somebody else. Her friends convince her to go out and get drunk. They get her to put on a hot dress. She eventually gets so drunk that a guy, played by James Marsden, offers to take her home, but she prefers to go to his place. After she spends the night, when she wakes up, she gets a call telling her that the network is reconsidering her, so she has to go to work, but her car was towed away, and her wallet, which was in her purse, was also ended, and she's left her phone at the guy's place. She then finds herself wandering around downtown LA, running into drug dealers and people thinking she's a hooker, so she has to find a way to get to work, and even the police are after her. What crazy shenanigans are going to happen here? Not very good ones, and I don't even think they're crazy. They're just kind of stupid. Because this movie really is a dumb movie that really just wastes the talent of Elizabeth Banks. And also James Marsden, Gillian Jacobs, Ethan Suplee, Bill Burr, Willie Garson, Alfonso McCauley, Kevin Nealon, Lacey Nash. A lot of good people in this movie. This movie should not be that terrible. And yet, it has a script that's about as worse as The Ugly Truth was in terms of how misogynistic it is towards women. It's a movie that's trying so hard to be a raunchy women's comedy and just failing miserably at it on so many levels. I mean, there's not one moment in this movie that you laugh at, and a lot of uncomfortable stuff in this too. I mean, this is a movie that is just unnerving to sit through. It's a mess. It's a sloppy mess of a movie with talent that should know better than this. Have you got the point yet? This movie's fucking garbage. It's a terrible movie, and yeah, there's a good reason probably why you've never heard of this movie, and yeah, you can thank me for for telling you not to see this film, but you probably will hate me for actually telling you it even exists, but bottom line, don't see it. It's not a good movie at all. It's a really, really terrible film. Walk of Shame. This movie deserves to be on the Walk of Shame.
Fraternity?
Do you guys want to come in?
I don't think we should. Who's Batman to you?
Christian Bale.
Michael Keaton is Batman to me.
I'm Batman.
No, dude, I'm Batman. This is what Batman sounds like.
It's 4 in the morning.
Call the cops.
You have no idea what you started.
A little dramatic.
Sorry, my ball just got in your face.
Are we even now?
Yeah, we're even.
Neighbors, rated R.
And welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 5 films that make up May 9th, 2014. A lot of them were not very good, with a couple of exceptions that we'll get to in just a little bit here. But let's start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is, of course, Neighbors. You have Kelly and Mac, played by Rose Byrne and Seth Rogen, who are settling down in the quiet neighborhood with their unborn child until frat brothers move into the house next door. And Teddy, played by Zac Efron, who's the president, and Pete, who's his right-hand man. And they're quick to accept friendship when Kelly and Mac introduce themselves as the neighbors. Now after that, though, Mac asks Teddy to lower the fraternity's noise, even accepting the invitation to the party one evening when Teddy goes back on his word to keep the partying down. Mac calls the police to deal with the problem. The police quickly blame Mac for their presence, and the war begins. As the families feud with the frat brothers, things get hilariously dangerous as the fraternity ends up on thin ice with their college. After receiving their final warning of being placed on probation, Mac and Kelly pull the prank so ingenious that Teddy and Mac are forced to respond. All hell breaks loose, from Robert De Niro's parties to crazy Christopher Mintz-Plasse having sex in the bushes. This comedy shows how things can go wrong really quickly with a family and a frat house becoming neighbors. Now, is it just me, or does this remind me of that Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi movie of the same name called Neighbors? The movie that you never even heard of until I probably mentioned it to you. Back in the day, I never really enjoyed it, but I've watched it again recently. It's not as bad as I made it out to be. I made it out to be this terrible movie, but the more I realized it with John Belushi's movies back in the day, he never played the same character in all of his movies. When you look back at his movies like Continental Divide, the drama he did with Carrie Fisher, I think it was Boyfriends or something like that. And this movie too, which is funny because it's Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi swapping the roles you would expect them to play. Dan Aykroyd's playing the obnoxious neighbor, and John Belushi's playing the straight guy in it. And yeah, I was actually kind of surprised at how much I found this movie enjoyable more recently when I watched it again. It's actually not that bad that I made it out to be, but I brought it up because when I did my original review for it, I called that one a terrible movie and said that this one is definitely a lot better than that. I would still say that, but this one, but I will say that I'll give the 81 Neighbors movie more credit for actually being more fun overall than I thought it was beforehand. Going back to this movie, though, this was a really, really funny movie. I mean, you saw me kind of snickering at the end of that trailer there. That bit where Seth Rogen is sitting down in his work chair, and then it just blows up and he goes right into the ceiling. Like, that moment, which is followed by another really funny moment after that, which is not in that commercial. That's one of my favorite moments in the movie, man. Just the stupid, just how it just comes out of nowhere and just takes you completely by surprise, and it's just... I mean, this is a funny, funny movie, man. It's one of those movies that does start off slow. The first 10 minutes of Rogen and Byrne being that most obnoxious couple ever really did get annoying pretty quickly, but as soon as the frat comes in, then the movie kicks into high gear and was nothing but straight up hilarity for the majority of the film. Not to say that I didn't like the two of them in this movie. Far from it. I thought they were actually pretty good, but that first 10 minutes where they're just using stupid phrases, doing the couples things, like they're trying to have sex while the baby keeps looking at him. It's just kind of like, it's that awkward comedy that just does not work. And we're going to get to another movie after this that is nothing but awkward comedy, and it's on that type of a level, but like I said, it's better after that, but I'm sorry. I think parents who just had a child will be smart enough to try to have sex away from the child. You know, you have a baby monitor for a reason. Put them in the room and then go to town. And if the baby starts going up, it's just like, hey, we got to stop for a second because the baby's going up. It's like, I mean, it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, yeah, it made me look at this and go like, oh God, is this movie going to be really torturous to watch? But no. Once the frat came into the picture, then the movie started getting good again. I mean, while watching this film, I couldn't help but wonder, am I crazy for rooting for the frat more than the couple with the kid? Because clearly, the film is going for the couple because they were there first, and but the frat is much smarter and more organized than the couple was, like the scene where they have the water damage and they decide to make sex toys out of their dicks and then make tons of money off of it. I mean, it's not even Adult House could even think of that, but then again, it was back in the 60s, man, and surprisingly, who broke out and had the best moments in the film was Zac Efron. I mean, I've always thought he was a great actor, even in movies that were not that great. You know, Charlie St. Croix, one of those examples. But he was great in stuff like 17 Again, Me and Orson Welles, Liberal Arts, and he had been kind of on a downward spiral since then. And, you know, he started the year off in one of the worst movies of the year, that awkward moment. But, man, he's back in full force in this movie. He carries the film along with delivering some of the funniest moments in the movie. This is the movie where you want to see him play that jackass we saw in that awkward moment. And here he does everything he does in that movie would have been fine because that's the kind of character he is, but not in the serious comedy like that awkward moment. And another person that really did surprise me was Dave Franco. And keep in mind, he was still kind of a rising star at this point. You know, he'd just come off of his work on the last season of Scrubs, and then he was on 21 Jump Street. But he really does give a very good and very funny performance. And luckily, he's been used in other films since then, not just comedies, but more recently in horror films like the movie he did with Alison Brie Together. But, you have a lot of good comedic actors in this movie, too. Ike Barinholtz, Carla Gallo, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Gerard Carmichael, Lisa Kudrow, Hannibal Buress, Jake Johnson. For some reason, Natasha Leggeri's in here for like a 5-second cameo. I mean, she might have been reprising that character she did on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where she was one of the strippers who was giving Charlie a free lap dance after his leg injury. This is like way back in the early days of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like the first episode of season 2. It was actually the first one with Danny DeVito joining the cast, but that's another thing altogether. But the comedy ranges from the gross out humor, such as the scene where Seth Rogen has to milk the booze out of Rose Byrd's tits, which is actually a lot more funnier than how I described it, to the Looney Tunes style humor, like that airbag scene. That is just so damn hilarious. A lot of these jokes work very well. You got another great one where they have Jason Mantzoukas, Dirty Randy from The League, telling Rogen and Byrne that their daughter had HIV, is what would have happened if the condom she had been eating had been used, and Rose Byrd's reaction to hearing that is just straight up priceless. When I heard that for the first time, I was laughing my ass off big time in this. I mean, this is a really, really funny movie, man. It was one of the strongest and funniest comedies I'd seen in a long, long time, and I had just seen the Lego Movie, and that's one of those great movies I saw in 2014. It's right up there with stuff like Ted. It's just a really funny movie with a lot of great jokes. Great performances from the actors, a great story, just a really great solid comedy. It's a great movie, man. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It's worth checking out. So what's that other movie that had nothing but awkward comedy? Well, it's a movie made by a Christian company, so that should give you your first warning sign right there. It's Mom's Night Out. Even the title sounds generic as hell.
Mom, Beck's playing in the toilet again. Surprise! We made you late. Let's shake it.
Oh no.
no. He's gonna put that in his mouth and become one of the 400 estimated people that die from acute salmonella. Do not put that finger in your... Oh, you having a rough morning?
Tell me it's all gonna be okay.
It's all gonna be okay. Just give it 5 years. Year 7 or 5.
You have to choose to do something for yourself.
I planned this mom's night thing for Saturday.
You planned a mom's night?
Yes, sister.
What's the worst thing that can happen?
They could get maimed. I could lose both children. It's getting hot in here. Wow, you look amazing.
Ladies, tonight is our night, and we look good.
I cannot find a reservation.
I just want to sit down with my friends without 3 little people
Clawing all over me. You're getting a little angry, and it's doing something ugly to your face.
Yeah, I think it's time we need to bring him back out. Excuse me 1 second. Yeah, I think you need to come back.
Comedy.
Because this is exactly the type of movie where he has to come back into play here. Oh my god, what the hell is this movie's problem? Well, first of all, this is directed by the Irwin brothers, the same people who are now kind of the kings of Christian movie making, because these are the guys that just recently did Jesus Revolution, American Underdog, which was probably the best overall film, the Kurt Warner movie, I can only imagine. And this is what happens when you have when you try to be a raunchy night out comedy, but it's made for the faith-based audiences, and it fails miserably, to the point where even the faith-based audiences don't want nothing to do with this. This movie centers around 3 moms attempting to get away and have a nice night out together, and the pandemonium that ensues as everyone's plan goes awry. It's basically a faith-based version of Adventures in Babysitting and Date Night. Like, who the fuck wants to see that? And I'm sorry for swearing like that, but I'm sorry. Who wants to see that? I mean, the problem with this whole thing is that you have to have a movie where this is the type of movie where the comedy has to come from the misery of the situation in general. That's why movies like Adventures in Babysitting and Date Night worked as well as they did. You can't make a movie where the comedy has to be about misery when you're making a faith-based movie. It just doesn't happen. It's just and you see it in the trailer right there. It's nothing but bad, lame comedy. And people just talking fast for no particular reason. Because if you talk fast, that's actually supposed to be very funny to these people. And no, it's not. There's just nothing about this film that's funny or hilarious or just worth it. It's a waste of time and your patience and your money. Because this is a film that has nothing of value to it whatsoever. Just go and watch Adventures in Babysitting and Date Night. I mean, there's no reason to watch this film. It's so bad that even the Christian audiences this thing was targeted for said, "Oh, we're not going to go see this." Like, it flopped pretty hard at the box office. So yeah. That's your first mistake right there. Is that if you can't even make a movie for your target audience that they're going to enjoy, then it shouldn't have been made in the first goddamn place. Again, sorry for swearing, but yeah, that's the God honest truth here. So, yeah, not a good movie at all. Mom's Night Out. So let's go ahead and we're keeping up with the shit train this week, and that is with the animated feature Legends of Oz: Dorothy's Return.
Hey, babies! I smell flying monkeys! Run! That's the plan!
This May,
Don't mess with the jester!
Where are my friends?
start your summer
I can't take this off ever.
with a blast.
Want some of this? Lion, coming through!
I don't speak monkey.
Legends of Oz, rated PG, in 3D May 9th.
You know, for those people back in 1985 that were so pissed off at the fact that how dare Disney make a Wizard of Oz sequel that's as dark as hell, and you know, like, and it's just like, the more I see these movies that try to capture the spirit of Wizard of Oz in between this and in between Return to Oz and Wicked, the more I'm just like, yeah, you deserve to rot in hell for even getting mad about Return to Oz, because this is the biggest insult to the Wizard of Oz, bar none. So, in the land of Oz, the Emerald City's co-leaders, the Scarecrow, Tin Woodman, and the Cowardly Lion discover that an evil jester has stolen the broomstick of his sister, the late Wicked Witch of the West, and takes control of the flying monkeys. With Oz's future at stake, the Scarecrow decides to use his invention called the Rainbow Mower to summon Dorothy Gale to save the kingdom again. However, flying monkeys invade the castle and force the trio out the window. In Kansas, Dorothy's farm has been wrecked by a tornado, leaving it in disrepair. A sleazy man claiming to be a government appraiser arrives and condemns the farmhouse, handing the Gales an eviction notice. Dorothy discovers people all across town have been handed the same notices and moving on. Dorothy and Toto encounter a rainbow which transports them back to Oz, but not to the Emerald City as intended. What the hell is going on in this movie, man? Like, this movie is all over the goddamn place, and this movie's basic idea is that let's stack as many big cast voice actors as we can. We got Lea Michele, we got Dan Aykroyd, we got Jim Belushi, Kelsey Grammer, Oliver Platt, Megan Hilty, Hugh Dancy, Patrick Stewart, Martin Short. This will cover up the garbage movie that's here? No, it really doesn't. And, I mean, to its credit, it does have one funny scene with the jester played by Martin Short. The whole thing about, like, every time he rips off his shirt, it's a completely different shirt altogether. It's just like, I can't take this suit off. Like, or it's just, that was probably the funniest thing about it. But, I mean, really, you can look at this movie and look at that and go, like, yeah, this was clearly made by a studio that was coming up, had no real money to it, so they went out to go get some money from people, and yeah, it didn't work out so well. In fact, it ended up performing so badly that the studio that put this out, it went down because of it. Well, excuse me, sorry. Well, here's what happens when you spend $70 million on a movie like this, and you think you're going to make that back in the middle of summertime. With all the big blockbusters coming out, yeah, you clearly have missed it. You clearly have failed miserably at what we're trying to do. I mean, it also didn't help that this movie had a lawsuit going for it where the producers of the movie scammed at least 1,800 different investors in order to finance the movie. They ended up raising more than $122 million, despite only using $70 million, and some of those funds were actually used to promote the career of one of the producers, Greg Santino's son, Noah Centino, who you recently found out he's going to be starring in he was in Black Adam, he's going to be in Street Fighter playing Ken Masters. And yeah, this was a guy that basically his career started because of the money that the people behind this movie were using to fund the film. And it's just kind of like, yeah, that's your warning sign right there that, yeah, this is a disaster waiting to happen. And it didn't help that the movie just looks bad. It feels unnecessary. There's nothing about this film that says it needed to be seen. It's just a terrible film. It's a film that doesn't work. It's a god-awful movie. It's a bad film. It's a really, really terrible film, plain and simple. So, let's go ahead and get back to some good movies. We have our next film that we have here, a much better movie with an all-star cast. This is Chef.
Is it on? Yeah, you're doing it, guys. Let's get everything out. I want the Cambros. I want the delis out.
All inside the walk. Ready
to go.
Ready.
The French
Can you tell me what's going on for tonight?
No. How many covers
How many? We're overbooked, but I just printed out all the menus.
It's not the menu you got printed. It's different.
No, that's what I understand.
We're going to go a tasting menu.
Carl,
a tasting menu tonight for Ramsey Michelle.
I know, but we have to.
She's coming here. Everybody knows about it. Did you see the Eater article?
I did.
It's all over the internet. It's great.
You know, I love it so much when you get like this. I really do, but I just
bring in the wait staff. Have them taste the food. I want them to understand what we're going for.
Okay.
Okay. We're not pushing specials today. The whole menu is special.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. I'm finally happy.
Before I go on with my review here, a little word of advice, Open Road Films. Don't say that that's a TV spot, because that was clearly a clip from the movie, and yeah, that was not a TV spot, plain and simple. Like, seriously, why even bother saying it's a TV spot instead of just saying it's a clip from the movie? I mean, I don't get that, but I'll let it slide, because you did make not only was this a good movie, this is a really, really damn good movie. So this is Jon Favreau coming off of the Iron Man movies. And Cowboys and Aliens, and especially after Cowboys and Aliens was a big flop. He essentially went back to making a short, simple movie, or as he calls it, going back to basics and creating a film about cooking. So in this movie, he stars as a celebrity chef who quits his job at a popular Los Angeles restaurant following a public altercation with a film critic, and begins to operate a food truck with his friends and his young son. You have a cast that also includes Sofia Vergara, John Leguizamo, Scarlett Johansson, Oliver Platt, Amy Sedaris, Bobby Cannavale, MJ Anthony, Dustin Hoffman, and even Robert Downey Jr. is in the film as well. And definitely by that trailer, that clip I just showed you, you can definitely get a sense that the people who saw the bear, who created the bear, took this movie as inspiration. I mean, how could you not? I mean, it literally looked like something straight out of the Bear in that format there, except with a much more grislier tone. And this time, instead of it taking place in a food truck, it's in a restaurant. Bear's pretty awesome, and so is this movie. It's a really good film where the actors really do show off what they can do as well. It's a really smart, funny script overall by Jon Favreau, and again, it's a nice return to form for him after coming off of something as underwhelming as Cowboys vs. Aliens, and it's basically, yeah, a return to form for him with this particular film, Cowboys and Aliens. I cannot talk today. Cowboys and Aliens is the movie I was talking about, not Cowboys vs. Aliens. Cowboys vs. Aliens probably could have been a much more intriguing film, but yeah, the movie works because of how well the cast works off each other, the good story in general here, and again, it does show kind of a precursor of what the film in general would eventually lead to with a show like The Bear. I think it's a very entertaining film. I think it's a well-made film. Definitely one of Jon Favreau's best films in general. I got John Harbaugh on the mind because I'm watching NFL Network after the games today, but I digress. But bottom line, Jon Favreau's Chef was pretty awesome. Let's just go with that. How about that? Good film, really good film overall. Highly recommend checking it out. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here, and that is Gia Coppola's newest film at that point, Palo Alto.
You're young. You don't know why you do things. But there's always a reason.
So these are based off of stories by James Franco, who also stars in the film alongside Emma Roberts, Jack Kilmer, Nat Wolff, Zoe Levine, Chris Messina, Keegan Allen, Val Kilmer, and the feature film debut for Margaret Qualley, who of course now is known for her works like The Nice Guys and The Substance. And this movie concerns a group of disaffected teenagers in a California suburb dealing with lust, boredom, and self-destruction. Now, I touched on Gia Coppola recently because she made a really good movie with The Last Showgirl. The first two films she did were not the greatest overall. I think out of the three films she did, this is probably my second favorite of the one, even though I think The Last Showgirl definitely is the strongest one, and Mainstream's kind of like the third one on here. I think it's fine overall. It does show a lot of promise of what she can do as a director here, and it's a real good showcase for these young actors, especially Emma Roberts, Nat Wolff, Zoe Levine. A lot of good young performances in here. You also have Talia Shire showing up in the film as well. It's a good movie overall. Not a great film, but definitely a film that has a lot of good stuff about it, especially with the performances and just getting a sense of you being in the city with these characters and you're getting attached to what they're going through here. I thought the film worked very well. I think it's an enjoyable movie. Not a great film overall, but I like it. Palo Alto is definitely one worth checking out. Ah, yes, one of the most famous creatures in all of movie history, Godzilla. Too bad there isn't a whole lot of him in this movie, but then again, it's better than the 98 movie. I say that it's a bad movie, but it's not really, but we'll touch on that as we go along here. Welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the two films of May 16th, 2014, and we start off, of course, with Godzilla. As the world's most famous movie monster is pitted against malevolent creatures who, bolstered by humanity's scientific arrogance, threaten our very existence. Cast includes Bryan Cranston, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Ken Watanabe, Elizabeth Olsen, Juliette Binoche, Sally Hawkins, and David Strathairn in the cast. And it's amazing to think about where Godzilla was in 2014. I mean, this was the 60th anniversary of the franchise, and yet nobody in America was able to adapt the giant monsters to the big screen well, especially with Roland Emmerich and his 1998 disastrous attempt of a movie that will just keep pretending that never exists. But hey, at this point, yeah, you can pretend that never existed because, yeah, this movie overall is very good. Gareth Edwards, I think, did a pretty good job of bringing this monster to the big screen. And it does work, with a couple of minor flaws that we'll get to here in a little bit here, but it's a perfect example of what makes for great summer escapism entertainment. We could just turn your brain off for a couple of hours, sit back in a movie theater with a bag of popcorn and a soda, a cool air-conditioned movie theater while it's 100 degrees outside, which, by the way, when I saw the movie in the theaters that day, it was actually in the 50s, so that should tell you about how the weather is up here. It can, one May it can be 100 degrees, and then the next May it's less than 50. But you get my point. I thought the story overall was really good. I thought the scientific elements actually did make sense in this. The human characters overall are good. They do serve a purpose to the film and are played very well by these actors. Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think, commands a lot of the screen in this, as he proves from Kick-Ass that he does give the film his all, and he is one of the stronger actors in this, next, of course, to Ken Watanabe. The rest of the cast does a good job in this, and you're probably wondering why I'm not specifically bringing up Bryan Cranston. Well, we'll save that for a little bit later on, but the monsters in the movie look great and epic, especially the big baddie himself, Godzilla, who just looks so much better than he did in that terrible, terrible movie. And the biggest dilemma of the movie is that with Godzilla, he really is not in this movie a whole lot. He's only in there for about he doesn't really make his presence well known until the last 30 minutes, but unlike other movies where the title character is not in the movie a whole lot, like the Lorax or the Tom and Jerry movie from 1993, the title character plays Second Banana in his own movie, he does make his presence known in the majority of the film because his showcase appearance is before his showcase appearance in Last Act. You see brief glimpses here and there of the baddie itself, and then you see Godzilla roaring in front of the screen towards the very end of the movie, and it's just kind of they got it right. They got it right there. I mean, that's really something where it's just yeah, it works to a T. And, again, the human characters are really good in here. We do care about these people in this movie more. You have Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen having good chemistry together, which, of course, they'll later bring the next year to Avengers Age of Ultron, with them playing, what's his name? God, why can't I remember his name in Avengers? Quicksilver, Pietro, and of course Elizabeth Olsen is Wanda Maximoff as well. They have better chemistry in this than they did when Matthew Broderick and Maria Pitillo did in the '98 movie, and I'm going to keep comparing it to the '98 movie because seriously, fuck that movie, man. But that does lead into some of the film's flaws, specifically Bryan Cranston. This is a guy that has become one of the most respected actors of his generation, and he's far from terrible in this. He's Bryan Cranston. He's the king of awesome. But what makes me upset about him is that they gave him the most cliched story ever. His wife dies in a radiation leak. His son and him have a mixed relationship. He's considered a nutcase, and the incident happens on his birthday, nonetheless. And what's worse, they kill him off 30 minutes into the movie. He's been all over he was all over the marketing for this movie. He was like the big name. They kept putting in trailers and all that, but they kill him off in the first 30 minutes of the movie. I mean, his character was pretty much every bad cliche thrown into one. I mean, it would have been surprised me if there was a line where he said to his wife, "I'm only 2 days away from retirement," or "We're getting married in 3 days," or even the cheapest boy of them all. The wife looks to him and says, "I'm pregnant." It's just let's get as cliche as we can. And yeah, I get it. Godzilla's supposed to be the main star of the movie and all that, but you have Bryan Cranston all over the marketing for this movie, and you barely show him in the film. And you kill him off halfway through the movie. This isn't, not even halfway through, a third of the way through the movie. I mean, this isn't like Drew Barrymore in Scream. I mean, back when that happened in '96, that was completely unexpected, and that was something that was in the beginning of the movie. He's all over the marketing for this movie, and he's barely in it for only 30 minutes. A half an hour, really. I mean, that's not even the cheapest play they do in this movie, too. I am so sick and tired of disaster movies using the idea of, let's put the kids in danger so the audience knows how serious this is. You got 3 monsters attacking the Earth, giant monsters. I think we can already assume that the kids are already in damn danger. And I count it. There's 5 scenes where the kids have to react to the dangers around them. One is early where Cranston's son sees the power plant where his parents are crumbling, which is probably the only scene where the cliche is used okay. Then we have 2 scenes in Hawaii, like one is a young boy who's separated from his parents on an airplane subway card. In the first of four scenes like this. There's another one where a young girl is watching a tsunami getting ready to happen. The fourth is where they show Godzilla in all his glory for the first time and he roars, and they cut back to Johnson's kid watching this stuff on TV, which was only there to tell us, ooh, Aaron Taylor Johnson's son is in danger too. I mean, we get it already. And the last scene is the bus scene on the Golden Gate Bridge, which again is forced, but because the cops are literally telling the bus driver to stay off the bus while the monster is near, and you know what the bus driver's just like, fuck you, I've got a job to do. It's just like, I am so sick and tired of these scenes that take place on the Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, we have so many bridge scenes during a big attack, just in general, not just the Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, X-Men 3 did that. Monsters vs. Aliens did that. Final Destination 5. Dark Knight Rises. Spider-Man 2002. The Amazing Spider-Man. Fantastic Four. We get it. Being on a bridge when a colossal event like this is happening is a bad idea. And then they even throw the dog being thrown into the danger. It's just like, granted, it's done only once in the movie, but I'm so sick and tired of these disaster movie tropes. Independence Day, Dante's Peak, Meteor, Sharknado. What's the point? Nothing. Nothing but a cheap plug to tug at our heartstrings because we don't see the puppy die. But then again, you can blame David S. Goyer for that because he was one of the writers. He was one of the uncredited writers on this. The biggest flaw of the movie is the military. They're your typical, something's fucked up, let's blow some shit up type of military, where it's just like, they don't want to think before they decide to do something. It's just like, let's not listen to the 2 scientists who've been following this damn thing for 15 years and just destroy them because clearly nothing will go wrong with that logic. I mean, at the same time, though, the fact that the guy tells the monsters need to fight in order to defeat each other does seem a little forced. It's so bad. I was surprised that there wasn't people in the middle of the city doing this while doing the thing from Robot Chicken while the monsters were attacking, where it's just kind of like, you know, they're destroying all those buildings and the monsters are destroying the buildings, and the people beneath them are just like, hey man, that's not cool. That's too soon. We just had 9/11 happen. And it's just like, yeah, it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, I mean, it really irks me. It goes for those lazy, cheap cliches overall, but to its credit, though, the film overall is enjoyable. I had a good time with it. It was a good example of good summer escapism entertainment. A good story that worked. Human characters we do want to care about. The monster effects are well done. It's a good, fun movie. What I wish we could have gotten more of Godzilla and less of those stupid cliched seeds. I think this really would have been a fantastic film and probably one of the best of the year. But as it is, it's a good example of a good summer escapism movie. Go see it in a cool movie theater when it's hot outside and you have a good time with it. And of course it led to the creation of the MonsterVerse that we're going to get to as we go through the years ahead, with King Kong being brought to the table in 3 years' time, and then these two will eventually meet together after COVID and all that. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this movie. It has a lot of flaws to it, but it's still a very good film regardless. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here, and that is Disney's latest sports film starring John Hamm, $1 Million Arm.
I'm J.B. Bernstein. I'm a sports agent.
Hey. Who's that?
She's my neighbor. Not my type.
Why? Because she's not a model. Yeah, stay away from that.
Right now, I'm on the verge of a huge break. Without this deal, we're done. What's going on here? Don't tell me you signed a contract with these guys.
It's just business.
Guess what? We're out of money. I mean, I don't know what else to do, JB.
Hey, how fast do they pitch in cricket? I think I cracked this. It's called $1 Million Arm. We find the first Major League Baseball player from India.
Like being on the road? Words cannot express.
Ray, how are you going to know if anyone can throw if you keep your eyes shut all day?
I can hear it.
Really?
That was about a 43. Bingo.
We have our finalists.
Welcome to America, boys. Okay, all right, guys.
Who is that? Is she a servant? She's a beautiful servant.
We can't train somebody who was never picked in a baseball. It's insane.
Okay, so how's it going? Baseball is very hard.
This is Major League Baseball, not some social experiment.
You're not ready for this kind of pressure.
This is business.
It'll be a sideshow.
These guys are not ready for a pro tryout. Their chances fall between slim and none.
Are you okay?
These kids, they're my last, best shot.
But they're also just a couple of great kids. Kids. I mean, they're far from home. They need to see that you care. Wow. This whole alternative family thing looks good on you.
Just do this, partner. Boom.
We've got a major league tryout.
Are you messing with us?
No, I'm not messing with you. You got a tryout. All right, go ahead. Say it.
Did you kiss Miss Brenda?
No. She kissed me.
Oh! Jimmy's good!
It's really kind of interesting with Disney when it comes to their sports movies. Most of them have been pretty solid. They have very rarely made a really bad sports movie in general. I mean, probably the worst one overall was The Game Plan, but even then, that movie kind of worked because of the charm of Dwayne Johnson and the relationship he has with the daughter and all that. But yeah, they very rarely have made a bad sports movie in general here. Most of them have been some of them have been kind of mediocre, but there's never been a really terrible one. And $1 Million Arm is definitely one of those ones where it's one of the lesser ones, but it certainly is a lot better than I think people made it out to be. John Hamm plays J.B. Bernstein, who's a sports agent in 2008, finding his business being seriously outplayed by his deep-pocketed competitors. Inspired by reality shows and Indian cricket games on TV, Bernstein gets the bold idea of finding cricket players in India and training them to become pro-baseball players in America. After a long search, Bernstein finds two talented but non-cricket playing youths, Riku Singh and Dinesh Patel. Together, Bernstein takes his prospects to Los Angeles, where they find mastering a new sport in a foreign land is a daunting challenge. As these boys struggle amid an alien culture, Bernstein must find a way to make sure their dreams come true. In doing, Bernstein finds a deeper humanity to his work with growing friendships he never expected to have. So yeah, it's kind of this movie kind of reminds me of that Brendan Fraser, Albert Brooks movie from back in the 90s, The Scout, except this one's definitely a lot better than that one. Another one from 94, The Air Up There with Kevin Bacon, except those two were straight up comedies. This one's kind of a comedy, but it's mostly a drama in general. And yeah, it does throw the whole idea of the been there, done that type of underdog storyline. But, you know, these are the type of movies that Disney is very good at. They're good at making these type of films about the underdog and making them into rousing movies. I mean, they've done it from the very beginning with Remember the Titans and Miracle. Hell, the Mighty Ducks movies before those films. You know, Glory Road was another great one. The Greatest Game Ever Played. Probably one of the more underrated films. And here's another one that kind of got pushed off to the side when it came out, mostly because it was in the middle of summer, which I don't know why the fuck we would release this in the middle of summer, but it's a really good movie. I did really enjoy it a lot. I thought it was solid. Their hearts were in the right place, and most of them have a lot of entertainment value to them in terms of their sports movies. And this one I think works because of that. It can be formulaic, yes, but it works because you do like the cast overall. John Hamm's really good in this. Lake Bell's a nice love interest here. Alan Arkin has some good funny moments in here. You do get involved with the two kids in here, Suraj Sharma and Madhur Mittal, playing Singh and Patel. Bill Paxton, in one of his last movies before he died, is pretty good in here. He'll have another really good one coming up in a couple weeks' time. But yeah, it works. It's a very good film. Is it predictable? Of course it is. But does it make it bad? No. If you're a good film overall, you can make for a really entertaining film in the process, and I think this film does that and then some. I think it's a well-made film. Good film overall, not one of Disney's best sports movies, but they fairly rarely made a bad one overall. I really enjoyed this one a lot. I do recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it. $1 Million Arm is definitely worth a watch.
What's the last thing you remember? I had a glimpse into the past. You're going to have to do for me what I once did for you. You'll need me as well. Side by side to end this war. Before it ever begins.
So, I wake up in my younger body, and then what?
Find me. Convince me of all of this. Try to take the two of us.
And where do I find you?
A different past. A darker past.
Logan, I was a very different man. Lead me. Guide me. Be patient with me.
Patience isn't my strongest suit.
I don't want your suffering. I don't want your future.
We need you to hope again.
And welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we're taking a look at the two films that make up May 23rd, 2014. And of course, the biggest of the new releases is X-Men Days of Future Past. The Ultimate X-Men Ensemble fights a war for the survival of the species across two time periods in Days of Future Past. The characters from the original X-Men film trilogy join forces with their younger selves from X-Men First Class in an epic battle that must change the past to save our future. The film features an ensemble cast that includes Hugh Jackman, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Halle Berry, Anna Paquin, Ellen Page, Nicholas Hoult, Sean Ashmore, Peter Dinklage, Ian McKellen, and Patrick Stewart. Written by Simon Kinberg, Matthew Vaughn, and Jane Goodman, and directed by Bryan Singer. Now, the X-Men movies have been on a roller coaster. I liked the first one. I liked X-Men United. X3 was just okay. X-Men Origins Wolverine was a piece of shit. X-Men First Class was okay, but nothing spectacular. And the Wolverine was pretty damn good. This one, I think, really is the best X-Men movie we've gotten up to this point. I mean, it really is one of the best X-Men movies of all time. Of course, the next one they do after, not the next one after this, but the one that comes out after the next X-Men movie, directed by Bryan Singer, the one with Hugh Jackman in the R-rated version of Logan, R-rated Logan, I should say. That's the best one, but this one, up to this point, was the best one that came out at that point. I mean, this movie was just perfect in every single way. It got everything right that the last four X-Men movies couldn't reach after what X2 did, succeeding in providing everything we wanted to see in an X-Men film following the events of X2. It delivered on all of that, and I was hoping for another X2. I was hoping for after X2 and also adding in some of those great elements that made First Class enjoyable for the parts that were in there. The cast overall is very good, especially Hugh Jackman, who works off not just the original X-Men cast, but also the younger cast very well here. James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Nicholas Hoult, Jennifer Lawrence, they work off each other very well here. They're given a lot more to do. The effects on the design of Holt's Beast and Lawrence's Mystique are definitely a lot better than they were in the last movie, easily. Everybody in the movie has a reason to be in here, and Singer does a good job of not wasting these characters and giving them a purpose, unlike another recently rebooted franchise. Seriously, fuck you, Amazing Spider-Man franchise. But, I talked about an Amazing Spider-Man 2, that Stinger clip they added in the UK. It's in here, too, and once again, pointless BS added to a, probably pointless because it was a movie where it really was unnecessary to throw that in there in the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, even though it has no connection to this movie whatsoever. But, yeah, you get the idea there. But Peter Dinklage is a pretty badass character in this, playing Boulevard Trask, and he is just a force that's not to be messed with, man. I mean, there's a reason why he's one of the more memorable characters on Game of Thrones, and just such a badass actor overall. The action sequences are very good, and Singer knows how to shoot these scenes very well. Keep the action simple to understand and easy to see. And I think the visuals overall, vast improvement over First Class was. I mean, that stadium scene alone is the proof that they put more money into this, and it showed. And it does not look fake at all. The story is nicely put together, easy to understand, and simple to understand. Everything about this movie just works so well. It did everything that I've been waiting the X-Men series to do since X2, and deliver it on a big scale overall. Bryan Singer proved that he was still a force that was not to be messed with, giving us a very solid X-Men movie overall. It delivered on everything we could have asked for. It was at that point the best X-Men movie ever. And then he had to go and ruin it with X-Men Apocalypse, which really, I mean, it technically wasn't really his fault. I mean, he was part of it, but there were far more other things that were very wrong about that movie. But we'll get to that one in 2016. But At the time, we were excited to see the King come back to where he started, pretty much. But I wouldn't even say the King, but you get the idea. It was good to see Bryan Singer back at the X-Men franchise, because it was clear the guy knew what he was doing from the get-go. And, of course, you had to bring him back in here to tell the story of Days of Future Past the right way. And he did it right here. I love this movie. Days of Future Past, classic X-Men film. What more can you say? So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to the other movie that we have this week, and that is Adam Sandler's latest comedy, Blended.
Go.
It's hot. Have some French onion soup.
When it didn't work out,
First date never easy.
they went their separate ways
Time to spring break.
to the same destination.
What is he doing here?
Is this a sick dream?
We're here for the zero romance package.
What are they doing?
Cleaning themselves.
Must be really dirty.
Blended. Rated PG-13. Starts May 23rd.
And yet, this is the Adam Sandler movie that wasn't the big box office hit. You try to explain that to me. I mean, because, yeah, he's made some bad... I mean, Grown Ups 2 was pretty bad. I mean, all these bad... I mean, Jack and Jill, Just Go With It. All these terrible movies. And yet, this is the one that actually is really good. And then nobody goes to see it, unfortunately. It's just something is wrong with this world, man. I mean, even today, it's still... But that's one other thing altogether. But in this movie, Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore, for the third time collaborating after The Wedding Singer and 50 First Dates, they're two single parents who went on a blind date together and never want to see each other again. And to their surprise, they both end up at the same African safari resort with their children and are forced to stay together. So it's another one of these movies where Adam Sandler uses this as a write-off to go on vacation. I mean, he even admitted during the production of this, when he was during the marketing for this on Jimmy Kimmel Live, there's that interview where he literally says, I literally did this to go as a tax write-off to go on vacation. But unlike some of his other movies that were tax write-offs, this one actually does work really good. Is it a great movie? No. But it works because Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore just have that great chemistry that we saw in 50 First Dates and The Wedding Singer, and it shows up again in this movie, with not as many of the best jokes overall, but again, it works because these two just work off each other so well. They are such a likable couple in this, and yeah, you want them to get together at the very end of the movie. You also got a great cast. It also includes Kevin Nealon, Terry Crews, Wendy McClendon-Covey. A lot of Adam Sandler's regulars are in here as well, but unlike movies like Grown Ups 2 and Jack and Jill, the effort was there to at least make a funny movie, and they did a good job of making an overall really funny film that does lead to a lot of really good elements to it. There's a lot of really good funny moments in here, a lot of good moments between Sandler and Barrymore. There aren't as many of the ridiculous gross-out jokes that are not funny like the other Adam Sandler movies. You could tell that they were trying in this film very hard, and it works very well to a T in here. Everybody plays their part very well. The film is just overall very, very enjoyable. It's one of Adam Sandler's better comedies he had made up to this point after years of making these just god-awful movies. But unfortunately, it was just one good gem out of a series of really bad ones, because once again, after this one, he returned to a lackluster comedy the next summer with Pixels, but we'll get to that one next summer. But yeah, this movie overall, though, I really enjoyed. I think it's one of his more underrated comedies. It's one I feel like should have been a much bigger hit, but when you release it in the middle of summertime on the same weekend as the far superior X-Men Days of Future Past, what do you think was going to happen? But I digress. But X-Men Days of Future Past is amazing, but give Blended a shot. It's actually a pretty good movie overall. I really enjoyed it. Blended is one I recommend.
Well, well. There is evil in this world. Hatred and revenge.
Yeah, whoever said Lana Del Rey cannot sing back in the day should listen to her version of Once Upon a Dream and shut the fuck up. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. We're wrapping May up by taking a look at the last two films of May 2014, May 30th to be exact. And the biggest of the two new releases is, of course, Angelina Jolie as Maleficent, the villain from Sleeping Beauty, who's apparently popular enough to overshadow Sleeping Beauty in a movie like this, where she has the title role and she's the main star of it. She's a beautiful, pure-hearted young woman, played by Angelina Jolie, of course. Maleficent has an idyllic life growing up in a peaceful forest kingdom until one day when an invading army threatens the harmony of the land. Maleficent rises to be the land's fiercest protector, but she ultimately suffers a ruthless betrayal, an act that begins to turn her pure heart to stone. Bent on revenge, Maleficent faces a battle with the invading king's successor, Sharlto Copley, from District 9, of course, and as a result, places a curse upon his newborn infant, Aurora. As the child grows, Maleficent realizes that Aurora, played by Elle Fanning, holds the key to peace in the kingdom, and perhaps to Maleficent's true happiness as well. And like I said, they did a great job of marketing this movie, from the first trailers, to them advertising for it, to that great little bit of the trailer you just saw there with the cover of Once Upon a Dream. I mean, like, I don't hate Sleeping Beauty like everybody is like. I don't hate Sleeping Beauty, but I don't like it as much as most people do. I think it's okay. Not one of Disney's better movies, but there's a lot of good things about it overall. Maleficent being definitely one of the stronger elements of it overall. But I thought they did a pretty good job of making this movie kind of work. I mean, they did a good job of mixing both the hero and the villain. While they can usually backfire at times when they try to do that, they do a good job of making this work overall without falling into a bad place that it can get itself out of it. It's mostly because, I mean, Angelina Jolie is just so good in this performance. I mean, she is the thing that really holds the movie together overall as Maleficent. I mean, she makes that character work. She does a great job of capturing those elements that Eleanor Aldley, who does the voice of Maleficent in the original Sleeping Beauty, did. And is also the same voice of the evil stepmother in Cinderella. And I thought Elle Fanning worked very well, too, as Aurora. I mean, I thought she really did. I mean, they don't really give her much to do except to just smile and be amazed at the visual effects that will be added in post later, but I thought she worked okay in here. I thought she actually did a very good job in here. And other than them and Sam Riley's Devil and Sharlto Copley's King Stefan, everybody else feels kind of wasted in this movie. And, yeah, let's talk about some of the flaws of the film, starting with the three fairies. And I mean, good Lord, they were just annoying as hell. And they serve no purpose to the story whatsoever. I mean, I get it. They're supposed to watch Aurora for 16 years. And they show none of that. There's a scene where Aurora, as a little child, falls off the cliff, and Maleficent's moving trees to save her. And the three fairies are doing nothing but fighting with each other. Maleficent does more of the work to protect her than the three fairies are supposed to do. I find that kind of both amusing and also kind of underwhelming. Because, yeah, I mean, the three fairies in the original at least did try to do something. At least they did try to help protect her. But here, I mean, I don't get what the whole reason their purpose is of being in here. Like, next to Maleficent, the three fairies from the original are the more memorable thing about the original Sleeping Beauty. See, so how do you screw that up in this version? And honestly, when you really think about it, the fairies are more of a threat than Maleficent is in this movie. Maleficent at least tries to protect her. Aurora keeps her out of danger, but the fairies could give two shits about it. It's just like, I mean, I'm glad the movie doesn't fall into the Alice in Wonderland trope where they keep, they don't add in pointless pop culture references and stupid breakdancing sequences like they did in the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movie. They keep the story in its overall time period. There's no dated references. And then again, it helps that you have the writer of The Beauty and the Beast, Linda Wolverton, who also coincidentally wrote the script for Alice in Wonderland. This is definitely the same Linda Wolverton who wrote Beauty and the Beast, rather than the one who wrote Alice in Wonderland, which is a mix between other writers as well. So it really wasn't her fault overall. Visuals overall are good, but nothing really jumps out to say it's a great or epic look to it. I mean, I am glad that the movie is okay. I don't like it as much as I did before, but I have come around to it overall. I'm just kind of like, it's good. It's nothing amazing. It's nothing too spectacular. It's more kind of Oz the Great and Powerful than Alice in Wonderland is. It does a good job of keeping the story in the time period. Angelina Jolie and Elle Fanning are good. It runs at a good enough pace overall, keeping its runtime short. But other than that, though, nothing really more about it I could say is amazing about it, but I liked it. I thought it was okay. I definitely think it's a lot better than the sequel overall. And in terms of the live-action Disney remakes, it's kind of in the middle for me. It's not as bad as some of the worst ones like Pinocchio and Beauty and the Beast, but it's nowhere near the best ones like Lilo and Stitch or Cinderella overall, which we'll get to that one next year because that comes out in March of 2015. But yeah, overall, Maleficent, I liked it. I thought it was okay. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that's Seth MacFarlane's directorial follow-up to Ted, and this is A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Orion's going to die.
Please don't shoot us on sex night.
From director Seth MacFarlane, who brought you Ted,
There are a million ways to die in the West.
comes the smartest,
Mila Kunis. Mila Kunis.
dirtiest,
Okay, I'm gonna close the Bible now.
most original, epic comedy of the summer. Seth MacFarlane, Charlize Theron, and Liam Neeson.
What is this?
Very special cookie.
You gave me the right amount, right? I think I took too much.
A Million Ways to Die in the West, rated R.
What's that?
Weather expanded.
Oh.
And there's reason number one why this movie didn't do as well as they were expecting it to, because you spoiled one of the big surprise jokes in the movie in the trailer. One of the big scenes is where Seth MacFarlane finds this farm, and he hears this farmhouse, and he hears this noise going on, and it's Doc Brown, and it's the DeLorean from Back to the Future Part 3. So this is supposed to take place in the same world as Back to the Future Part 3. And that's supposed to be one of the big laugh-out-loud surprise moments, and you just went ahead and spoiled it in the trailer, which basically tells you that Universal wasn't really convinced that this movie was going to do well, which they ended up being right on, because this one didn't do the business they were hoping for. I wouldn't say it flopped, but compared to what Ted did a couple years before, it was definitely a lesser box office success than the original Ted was, and slightly less than Ted 2 ended up being too, which kind of was around the same area. But yeah, this movie did not get the best overall reviews when it came out. It was actually seen by most people as kind of a mixed bag overall, but I don't know, man. It's a movie where I liked it at first, but time has gone on, I have definitely come to appreciate it more and more, because it's kind of a lost art form for what R-rated comedies used to be nowadays, but now are nowadays. But I'll touch on that in just a second here. But in 1882, Arizona, courageous sheep farmer Albert Stark, played by Seth MacFarlane, loses his beloved girlfriend Louise, played by Amanda Seyfried, as a result of his withdrawal from a duel. He soon meets Anna, played by Charlize Theron, through whom he discovers his confidence and his courage. After falling in love with her, Stark soon realizes that his true potential when Anna's husband, the infamous outlaw Clinch Leatherwood, played by Liam Neeson, arrives in town seeking retribution for Stark's relationship with his wife. And like I said, Ted, I think, is one of the best comedies of this decade overall. That and Neighbors, just two really good comedies overall. And, coming off of Ted and seeing how Seth MacFarlane's entertainment value has come along since Family Guy got started back in 1999, A Million Ways to Die in the West is nowhere near as good as Ted, but at the same time, I do admit that I like it better than I did when I first saw it. I think it is a good movie that shows what it was trying to be. It was trying to be this generation's Blazing Saddles. And I criticized it early on as being one of the film's biggest problems, but because Blazing Saddles obviously was made in a very different time in Hollywood, and that film would have gotten made nowadays, especially in this day and age. But at the same time, I do give Seth MacFarlane a lot of credit for actually trying to do something inventive and kind of new with it overall, bringing this back to a new generation overall. But I'll touch on that in just a second here. The biggest thing about it is that, Ted's plots and story kept it plain and simple. It's a buddy comedy with a guy and a talking bear, and it gets a little bit more complicated than the story does in this movie. Some of it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Subplots don't really get any real conclusion. They just kind of end. Like the whole thing about Giovanni Ribisi and Sarah Silverman. They kind of set it up as this big thing, and then they really do nothing with it overall with it. And while Ted's jokes could be raunchy, they steer clear of resorting to fart, shit, and piss jokes and cheap laughs. And unfortunately in this, they do a lot of that. Well, sometimes they can do a lot of fun stuff with it. Like, I love the first one where, the first fart joke where the guy farts and then dies crashing into a table. That's good. But then shit like the brief scene where they show him shitting in a hat, which looks more like baked beans, by the way, and those sheep pissing jokes, that's where it gets really lazy. But unlike another movie that focuses a lot of its humor on poop jokes, shit jokes, like The Love Guru, they don't do it throughout the course of the movie, and it's not annoying. And most of it comes in the second half of the movie, and by that point, I'm already getting some good laughs out of it overall. But that being said, when the movie does have clever jokes, they're smart enough to let the jokes do the work and not resort to a gross-out joke. There's a great joke at the carnival with a game that's on the caliber of the type of humor you see in Blazing Saddles that works because of how reminiscent it is to the style of jokes used in Blazing Saddles. I think the best jokes overall come in the first hour, where you could tell they were really going specifically for cleverly written, smartly executed gross-out jokes, and while in that second hour, you start getting those stupid gross-out jokes that serve no purpose but to just be comedy for the 12-year-olds who sneaked into the movie, like they bought a ticket for Maleficent and then sneaked their way into A Million Ways to Die in the West, but I thought the cast overall worked really well. I thought McFarlane was very good with his screen presence, but he's not giving himself a chance to let his abilities really break out. And he's the director of the film. This is his puppy all the way through. But the rest of the cast does work well off each other. There's not a point where you feel like the chemistry really isn't forced or fake. I thought the cameos overall were really solid. I mean, the Christopher Lloyd cameo is really good, but unfortunately, I saw the TV spot for it, so when I saw it for the first time in the theater, I didn't get that great, loud reaction I thought people would be getting for it, but yeah, it was one of the better jokes in the movie, but you got Gilbert Gottfried as Abraham Lincoln, Ewan McGregor, Bill Maher, Patrick Stewart, Ryan Reynolds, and then they just throw in Jamie Foxx as Django from Django Unchained for no reason whatsoever. It's worth it in the credits when it shows up in there. It really is worth it. And honestly, it's much better, I think, than the Django Unchained movie. But that's my personal take on that. But I think what it really comes down to is that A Million Ways to Die in the West is like watching Family Guy. It's like watching an episode of Family Guy where one half of it is very funny, very clever, very smart, like the early seasons of the show. But then the other half has to resort to like stupid jokes and cheap jokes to get a cheap laugh, like the later episodes do. It's funny, but it's not an all-around winner like Ted was. And I'll put it this way. If Ted is the American Dad of movies, which I think American Dad is much better than Family Guy, very funny, completely takes you by surprise, A Million Ways to Die in the West is the Family Guy of movies. Something sometimes funny and smartly written, other times really stupid and unnecessary. And it's kind of a mixed bag overall, but I have grown to appreciate it more over time. And I think it is definitely a good film, not a great one either. It's definitely no Ted, or Ted 2 to be perfectly honest with you, but I don't think it's that bad movie that everyone thought it was when it came out. It was far from that. I mean, I've seen a lot of worse comedies in 2014. I mean, The Nut Job just came out that year. I mean, that's one of the worst comedies ever. I mean, there's much worse comedies than The Million Ways to Die in the West. It just didn't live up fully to the potential I think they were setting it up for it, but I mean, I give Seth MacFarlane a lot of credit for taking the chances he had with it, and for the most part, it worked, but just not enough for me to say it's up there on the caliber of Ted. I think Ted is the far superior film, but as it is, it's a good. A Million Ways to Die in the West is pretty good overall. I still enjoy it, so that's all I got to say about that one. A Million Ways to Die in the West.